October in Arizona is one of my favorite times. The cooler temperatures are certainly a welcome relief after such a hot summer. You may have started a garden earlier this year and it really struggled as we made our way through the long hot summer. Well, the good news is October is here and gardening just got a whole lot easier. In today's video, I'm going to share the garden tasks that need to be done, what we can plant, what we need to take care of, including a list of what flowers, vegetables, and herbs to plant in your garden. So many fun things can go in the garden this month. Peppers are one of those things that oftentimes can grow year-round here in Arizona. At the end of the summer, you give them a nice good trim, give them some fertilizer, and October is really when those pepper harvests begin in earnest. One thing you can do to encourage production this month is as you see the pepper blossoms, to give them a foliar spray with Epsom salts. This encourages the plants to continue producing. You should see great pepper harvests all the way through the fall and into December. Pomegranates are developing on the tree, getting some color and starting to ripen. How can you tell if a pomegranate is ripe? There's a few ways. Knowing what type of pomegranate tree you have and when it typically gets ripe helps you know about when to start looking. Pomegranates often develop a deep red color and the skins will lose a little bit of their shine. You'll also see those inside sections begin to develop. If the birds are starting to be interested in your pomegranates, you can bet harvest time is getting close. The wonderful pomegranate varieties that I have growing in my yard are usually ripe beginning in November, but check your pomegranates and they may begin to ripen this month. The roses that we pruned last month are looking great. They're starting to bloom. We're getting that second flush, kind of that second spring for roses. Enjoy the blossoms this month. Peach trees and other deciduous fruit may begin to lose their leaves this month. They're a great addition to compost. Keep any fallen fruit picked up. It's a great hiding place for pests. The citrus in your yard should be looking really happy this month. Hopefully you gave it a good dose of fertilizer last month and a couple of good deep waterings. Hopefully you're seeing new growth being pushed out and lots of fruit ripening on your trees. If your tree really isn't looking good, it may have been the long hot summer we just had. If you need to replant, October is a great month to plant citrus. Check local nurseries first. They will have trees that are specifically grafted onto rootstock that is adapted to grow well here in the low desert of Arizona. Basil should be looking great this month. Keep it harvested, enjoy basil all month long, and preserve some to save for the cooler months when basil dies back. Keep your Roselle harvested this month. Harvesting often encourages production. Those beautiful calyxes are delicious. If you're looking for recipes for them, head to my blog. I share my 5 favorite recipes for Roselle hibiscus right on the blog. October brings harvest of monsoon planted tomatoes. Hopefully you've got a few growing in your garden this year. Purple hyacinth vine is really putting on a show this month. Enjoy those beautiful blooms. Harvest some of the seed pods to save and plant again next year. October is the month that coral vine really shines in the garden. It grows and is beautiful and green all summer long, but October is when those blooms just cover the vines. Armenian cucumbers are finishing up, but regular cucumbers are getting started and we love having those fresh from the garden. Hopefully this month we'll see harvest from the monsoon planted summer squash and winter squash that have been growing throughout the monsoon season. Loofah is growing well. Keep an eye on that loofah as the skin begins to turn yellow and it kind of feels light for size. That's a good time to harvest loofah. And loofah will keep growing and producing up until we have a frost. The turmeric and ginger I planted this spring are still growing. They both require a really long growing season, and I'm not going to harvest them until temperatures get really cool and those tops start to die back. I want those rhizomes to be as big as possible. October is a great time to plant potatoes. I love to plant potatoes in grow bags this month. We get a nice quick harvest in during the fall months. If you've got some potatoes sprouting in your cupboard, pop them in some grow bags and you'll have a potato harvest here in a few months. October is the best time to plant garlic. Hopefully you've got some garlic ordered and chilling in the fridge. Get it planted this month and get it in the ground. Harvests are continuing from summer planted crops such as okra, lots of beans. Once some of those summer vining crops are done producing and the trellis is free, that's where I love to plant peas. Peas are one of our family's favorite cool season crops. Almost any variety does well here. Give peas something to climb and add some to your garden this month. Cucamelon plants that you may have kept alive over the summer are beginning to produce this month. October, for me, that's usually the month that I get the best harvest of cucamelons. October is also a great month to plant celery. Add celery to your garden. Typically starts are the best and easiest way to grow celery. You can also start seeds indoors. Be aware that they take a little bit of time to germinate, or you can start from the cut off ends of celery. And again, that will take a little bit longer, but you can grow celery any of those ways. Thinking about adding strawberries to your garden, strawberries need a place with plenty of afternoon shade. So if you've got a spot in your garden to grow strawberries, October is a great month to add them to your garden. Thinking about adding some trees or bushes to your yard, October is a great month to plant. Planting in October gives the plants time to settle in before the cold temperatures come. Now that nights are cooling down and the days are cooling down, adjust your watering so you're not watering quite as often. Your raised beds can probably be watered between once every 2 or 3 days, and as temperatures cool down, you can even stretch that even longer. Look around your landscape and make sure you're not overwatering trees and shrubs as well. Adjust your watering so you're watering less often. Still water the plants just as deep. Now that temperatures are cooler, stretch those watering times out even further. October is also a great time to prune back flowering perennials like lantana, yellow bells, all of those things. It's a great month to give landscape plants a good pruning. The cooler temperatures bring a second flush of blossoms and fruit to the goji berries and to the figs. We'll be enjoying both this month. I've mentioned a few things to plant this month, but here is the list of all the vegetables that you can plant in your Arizona garden in October. Beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, Chinese cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, collard greens, garlic, kale, kohlrabi, lettuce, leeks, mustard greens, onions, green onions, peas, radishes, spinach, Swiss chard, and turnips. Questions about whether to use seeds or transplants? Remember that root vegetables do best when planted from seeds. Those would be things like your beets, carrots, radishes. Your cole crops, things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage, all of those type of crops you can plant from seed or transplant. Garlic, you're going to plant from garlic cloves. Onions do best planted from seed or from onion transplants, not those little hard dried up onions. Those tend to bolt. Your greens often do best planted from seed. Things like spinach and lettuce are less likely to bolt if you use seed, but you can also use transplants. Just look for young transplants. Peas, you always want to plant directly in the garden. There's no need to buy pea transplants. Look for a package of seeds. Peas will be much happier if you plant them directly in the garden. More questions about whether to use seeds or transplants? Head to my blog and there will be more information. That light pruning we gave a lot of the perennial herbs last month has reinvigorated those herbs and they're looking great. It's finally time to plant herbs in the low desert. There are so many herbs to plant this month. Many herbs grow really well year-round here in the low desert, but do best if you can start them during the cooler temperatures of October and November. Here's a list of all the herbs that we can plant this month. Borage, chives, cilantro, dill, fennel, garlic chives, lavender, lemon balm, marjoram, mint, oregano, parsley, rosemary, sage, thyme. Wondering whether or not you should use seeds or transplants for herbs? Here's a few tips. Borage does best planted from seed. Cilantro too, it has a long taproot and does best if you can start it from seed in the garden. If those roots get disturbed, it tends to bolt a lot sooner. Same thing with dill and parsley. they also have long tap roots. Sometimes those seeds take a long time to germinate, so if you want to start from transplants, look for very small transplants and be very careful with the roots. Perennial herbs all do great when started from transplant, and sometimes they're very difficult to start from seed, so look for transplant for a lot of those perennial herbs. I planted an orange cosmos in my side yard garden several years ago. This time of year my garden gets full of orange cosmos blooms. Globe amaranth is really putting on a show this month. So many beautiful blossoms. Do you love seeing wildflowers in the spring? Well, October is the month to make that happen. Plant wildflower seeds this month. The wildflower seeds will germinate with October's cooler temperatures and hopefully rain. I can tell that it's October in my garden when the nasturtium seeds begin to pop up all over my garden. So besides sprinkling wildflower seeds around your yard, add some fall color to your yard. The list of flowers to plant this month is long, and that's a good thing. Questions about whether to use seeds or transplants for flowers? Head to my flower planting guide and it lists which one it grows best from for each flower. So here are the flowers that we can plant this month. African daisy, alyssum, aster, baby's breath, begonia, calendula, carnation, flax, foxglove, gaillardia, gazania, geranium, hollyhock, larkspur, lisianthus, lobelia, Mexican hat, nasturtium, ornamental cabbage, petunia, poppy, ranunculus, rudbeckia, salvia, shasta daisy, snapdragon, stock, strawflower, sweet pea, verbena, violet, and yarrow. That is a lot of flowers. That's what I'll be doing in the garden this month. Hopefully you found a few ideas for things to plant and tasks to do in your garden. Have a great month. Thank you so much for watching.